Hello, my dear students. Hope you have all listened to or you have watched all the videos I have uploaded so far. Today, we are moving onwards to the last topic of Module 2, that is the Standard English. First, let's have a general introduction about the evolution of Standard English. The evolution of Standard English or Standard English evolved gradually through several stages. I have already told you several times that about the significance of French after Norman Conquest. That is, English language was replaced by French, and French became the official language after the Norman Conquest. And towards the end of 14th century, a Standard English literary language developed. We have already discussed all these things while dealing with Middle English period, and this the importance of French language and the status of English language, etc. We have discussed. We have already discussed, and this Standard English, the evolution of Standard English, it was a gradual process, and it began towards the end of 14th century. Okay, the Standard English thus developed as more or less fixed in grammar and spelling. This is the Standard English or received English, that is the one spoken by educated Englishmen. Standard English, it's a language spoken by the educated man there, and it is entirely different. It is different from various dialect of particular regions and classes. So Standard English or Standard English, it developed gradually, and it began during 14th century. And the Standard English dialect, it was spoken by the educated English man, and the development of Standard English was a gradual process which began by the end of 14th century. Okay, thus Standard English, or it's otherwise called Received Standard. The Standard English, it was the product of public school. What we described as Standard English, it was formed as a result of the influence of public school, and this is the language of educated aristocratic Englishmen. Actually, this Standard English or Received Standard, which was the outcome of the public school, is the language of the educated aristocratic people. However, later the this public school that lost their aristocratic prestige with the greater advancement of democracy. Public school, public school, it was the public school that led that the status of public school that lost its aristocratic prestige with the development of democracy, with the advancement of democracy, and hence it becomes a speech not precisely of the public school but of the educated men of southeast of England. In the beginning, this Standard English became the language of aristocracy or the educated aristocratic people. But with the advancement of democracy, this aristocratic prestige that is assigned to Standard English became diminished, or it got declined, and later it became the language of the educated men, not aristocratic people alone. It became the language of Englishmen of the southeast of England. Okay. So now about the variants of Standard English. There are many variants of Standard English which result from the social or regional influences. Actually, in the beginning, Standard English became the language of aristocratic or educated aristocratic men. Later, it became the language of the educated men, not aristocratic, educated men of the southeast part of England with the advancement of democracy. So, About the variants of standard English, there are many variants of standard English which resulted from the social and regional influences. As Wilde calls this variant the modified standard. The standard English, it got developed because of the influence of social and regional factors, and this modified standard, this modified standard, which Wilde calls it, it varies from class to class, locality to locality, and from one generation to another according to the changes in the taste of the speakers. It varies. This modified standard, it varies. Thus, what is standard to one age or class or locality may not be the same to another. That is, it differs according to class, locality, generation, etc. So the standard varies and undergoes the standard English, the standard, the base, it varies and undergoes development through ages. That means what is standard English to a particular age is not the same as that of another age, another period. It undergoes variation. Okay, so now about how standard English varies. We are going to analyze how the standard English varies based on class or age or region, etc. So the development of standard English, about the different ways by which standard English vary. The standard English had a gradual development, I have already told you. And the standard English arose in the 14th century from East Midland dialect. Standard English, it developed from East Midland dialect during the end of 14th century, and the concept of standard English emerged from East Midland dialect, which had then become the accepted standard language. That is the West Saxon in Old English period. East Midland became the accepted standard language during this period, and standard English, because of the prominence of East Midland dialect and the importance of East Midland dialect, the standard English, it standard from the East Midland dialect, or it emerged from the East Midland dialect during the end of 14th century. This was due to four factors actually. The development of standard English from East Midland dialect was because of four main factors. Clear? I shall make it clear. That means the choosing of East Midland as a standard is because of four main factors. First one is the Midland dialect area occupied a convenient middle position between north and south, and so it is easily comprehensible to both the regions. ഈസ്റ്റ് മിഡ്ലാൻഡിൽ നിന്നാണ് നമ്മളുടെ സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡ് ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ഫോം ചെയ്തത് ടുവേർഡ്സ് ദ എൻഡ് ഓഫ് 14th century. The reason or the development of standard English from East Midland dialect was because of mainly four factors, four reasons. Because of first one is the significance of Midland dialect, because it occupied a convenient position between north and south. It occupied a position between the north and south. It was spoken there, and so it is easily comprehensible for both the people of north and south. And the second factor is the East Midland district was the most popular dialectal area. Because of its popularity, particularly because of the two universities there, this East Midland dialect, it became the popular dialect of that area. This popularity of East Midland dialect is mainly because of the two universities that were established there. That you are all familiar with the two universities, the University of Oxford and Cambridge, that belong to this district. So it became a popular dialect of that region. And also because of the importance of London as a capital, the seat of the court and the focus of all social and intellectual activities. The dialect, the East Midland dialect, was a dialect of London, and the East Midland dialect became popular because of the two universities, Oxford and Cambridge, and also because of the importance that is given to that place, London. London was the capital, and the seat of court, and it was a place of great social, intellectual and cultural activities, and it was all these factors led to the importance of East Midland dialect there. And because of the significance in East Midland dialect possessed at that time is the reason behind choosing East Midland as the standard at that time, or East Midland dialect emerged as the standard English during East Midland dialect. Standard English developed from East Midland dialect, or it's a East Midland dialect during the 14th century. Okay. Now, the London dialect. Originally, this London dialect, I have already told you that because of the significance of London, the significance of London as a capital and the seat of all cultural and social activities, East Midland dialect has its own significance there. And this London dialect was mainly southern in vocabulary and pronunciation. This East Midland dialect was mainly southern in vocabulary. It is similar to the southern dialect, and was made popular by Chaucer and Wycliffe. This London dialect, East Midland dialect, became made popular by Geoffrey Chaucer and John Wycliffe. And in the 14th and 15th centuries, Midland and North elements also crept into it. Actually, this London dialect resembles the southern dialect. It's southern in vocabulary and pronunciation, and this dialect was made popular by Chaucer and Wycliffe, and later towards the end of 14th and 15th centuries, Midland and northern elements entered into or crept into this dialect. And with Caxton's printing press, with the establishment of Caxton's printing press in the year 1476, not the year, the establishment of Caxton printing press in 1476, with the establishment, this London English began to spread and came to be one of the educated and cultured class. With the introduction of printing press in 1476, this dialect gained overmuch significance, or it gained popularity, and it spread, and it spread all over there, and it became the language of the educated and cultured class. So it now became the dialect of the educated and cultured class. That I have already told you that standard English became the language of educated and cultured class. Here, with the introduction of Caxton's printing press, it spread, and it became the London dialect became the language or the dialect of educated and cultured class, and thus this London dialect or East Midland dialect became the standard. That is how it became the standard. Clear? Okay. Now, the growth of standard English through centuries. How this standard English dialect developed or underwent a gradual change. The growth of standard English through centuries, or the factors that led to the growth of standard English. The growth of standard English through centuries was accelerated by several factors, by various factors. They include the introduction of printing press, I have already told you, and the large number of printed books that with the introduction of printing press, that led to the significance that was given to London dialect, which later became the standard. And with the introduction of printing press, what actually happened is that large number of printing press, a large number of books spread, and because of this, or this resulted in the spread of education. Then the education, then another factor is the Reformation and the authorized version of Bible. All these helped in the growth of standard English. And in the 15th century, that is the great classical age of English letters, there was an ordering and regulation of the language. Regularization of the language was there during the 15th century. And another important factor that led to the growth of standard English is the dictionary. Is the dictionary by Dr. Johnson, or Dr. Johnson's dictionary, that laid down an appropriate standard in vocabulary and the spelling. So before that, the spelling was not actually fixed. With the publication of Dr. Johnson's dictionary, the spelling, the vocabulary got fixed, and it laid down an appropriate standard. So in the 15th century, 15th century, the classical age of English letters, there was a regularization of language, and the introduction of and the establishment of Dr. Johnson's dictionary. After the publication of Dr. Johnson's dictionary, an appropriate standard was set in, and English language, the vocabulary and spelling of English language got standardized. And during the 19th century, I have already told you that the growth of English or standard English was a gradual one through centuries. It began towards the end of 14. The development of standard English began during the end of 14th century from the East Midland dialect, and later there are several factors that lead to the development of standard English. They include the introduction of printing press in 1476, then the Reformation, then the authorized version of Bible of 1611. All this helped in the development of standard English. And in the 15th century, the standard English is developing through centuries, and in the 15th century, there was an ordering and regularization of language, and with the publication of Dr. Johnson's dictionary, this standard, this dictionary laid down an appropriate standard in vocabulary and spelling. And during the 19th century, what happened to standard English in the 19th century was the growth of science, the expansion of the empire, the spread of newspapers, the improved means of travel and communication. All this happened during 19th century. All this happened during 19th century, and there were great developments of science. The great developments of science was there during 19th century, and all this contributed to the development of standard English. During the 19th century, there was growth of science, then expansion of empire. 19th century means the Romantic and Victorian period. The first half is the Romantic period, and the second half is the Victorian period, 19th century. So, during the 19th century, there was growth of science, advancement of science, progress attained to science, and there was the expansion of empire, then spread of newspaper was also there. Then there were many improved means for travel and communication, and altogether there were great developments in science and this contributed to the further development of standard English. And in the 20th century, there are other factors like radio, cinema, then television. All these have led to the additions of vocabulary and to the spread of English language. So, standard English, it modified or it developed through centuries, and there are so many factors that led to the enhancement of standard English through ages, and these are the factors. Clear? Okay, now about standard English, the pronunciation of standard English. During modern English period or the modern English, the spelling became more or less fixed, but the pronunciation underwent changes of vowel shift. That is, a vowel shift. We will analyze the great vowel shift later. The spelling during the modern English period, spelling became fixed. More or less, it got fixed, but the pronunciation still underwent so many changes of vowel shift. Vowel shift means a change of vowel during the transition from Middle English to modern English. Consequently, these modern English vowels do not have the same sound which they once had, because the spelling is already fixed, it's not changing, but the pronunciation underwent so many changes, and so the vowels in modern English do not have the same sound which it had earlier. Then in grammar, modern English had changed the system from synthetic to analytic. Synthetic to analytic, that means from the one that depended on inflection, that means synthetic, it changed to analytic, that means it later it depends upon the word order or grammatical words like preposition, auxiliary verb, etc. That is not as far as the grammar of modern English is concerned, it underwent a change. That is, it underwent the system, the grammatical system changed from synthetic to analytic. That means analytic means it depends upon the word order, syntax, grammatical words, preposition, auxiliary verb to convey the meaning. Then these are the developments that happen to standard English, particularly spelling, grammar, etc., pronunciation, etc. Then about vocabulary, vocabulary is still expanding, especially in respect of scientific and technological terms from Greek and Latin. Besides a large number of popular words, vocabulary is expanding. We all know it, right? Vocabulary is increasing each and every day. Every day it's adding more and more words to vocabulary, so it is expanding. And changes in meaning also continues as ever, like vocabulary meaning also change. So this all adds to the development of standard English. Thus, standard English, it has traveled a long way from 14th century. It underwent so many changes, so many developments from 14th century. That is the time it emerged from East Midland dialect. And through centuries, that is 15th century, we have already discussed the factors that led to the development of standard English during the 15th century, then 16th century, and later 19th century, 20th century, and all. So these are the changes or gradual developments of standard English, the way it traveled. So this is about standard English, the evolution of standard English, the variants. Then we have discussed the development and the establishment and development of standard English through ages. So to conclude, standard English, it has underwent, so I have already told you that it has underwent gradual changes as far as spelling, grammar, vocabulary, meaning, as far as meaning is concerned. all these are concerned, it underwent so many changes. So standard English means not a standard English which would not allow further growth or changes in language. Standard English does not mean that, it doesn't mean that it's a standard English which does not underwent any it does not allow any change or growth. That's not meant by standard English. Such a conservative theory is absurd, because language is always uh, in a in language is always in a change of flux. It is always changing. So standard English does not mean a standardized language which does not allow any further changes. But at the same time, what is standard English, what it's meant, which actually meant is that it's a standard that is undergoing gradual development, uh, and it has already underwent many changes compared to the time it has established. It had established to the status it has at present, it possesses at present. So standard English, this is all about standard English, the development of standard English, then the establishment of, sorry, the establishment of it, and the development. So that's all about standard English. If you have any doubt, feel free to ask me. You can clear your doubt with this portion. The standard English module 2 is over. Next we are moving to modern English, that is module 3. Thank you.